Hey, good morning. We are ready to start lesson 9.2. So you're going to need your math journals. Please get those out, and I'm going to reposition the computer. Alrighty. So today we are going to still be continuing to talk about percents and decimals and fractions. And we also talked yesterday about if we can get a fraction to be 100%, or if we can talk about something that has a denominator that has 100%, we are in total business because that will be so easy because that will be your percent, your decimal, and your fraction if you can get that denominator to say 100 on the bottom. All right, so I'm on page 252 right here. If you would turn to page 252, get your pencils ready. Alfred, Nadine, Kyla, and Jackson each took the same math test. There were 20 problems on the test. So here's our unit right here. It's a 20 problem test. If you got 20 problems right, you get 100%. Alfred missed half of the problems. Uh-oh. He missed 0 and 50 hundredths of the problems. That is 50% of the problems. How many problems did he miss? Now this one's a pretty easy one because it's 50%. We know that 50% is always going to be just half. So all you have to do is cut 20 in half. So he missed 10 problems. Now if we didn't know that 50% was half, we could also set it up like this way right here. We know how to do this. We need to know what half of 50 is. Half of 20 is, sorry. And if I set it up like that, we always divide first. 20 divided by 2 is 10. Circle that so you remember you got to do something else, and 10 times 1 is 10. So half of 20 is 10. 50% of 20 is the same thing as half, so that is also 10. There's my ghostwriter. If we look over here, this is showing that half is shaded, or 50% is shaded. Remember that it's easy to rename a fraction as a percent when the denominator is 100. For example, another name for 32 100ths is 32%. Like I said, if you can get that denominator to say 100, that top number is going to be your percent, your decimal, and your fraction. Oh, it's being kind of tricky, boys and girls. All right. There are other fractions such as 1/2, 1/4, 1/5, and 1/10 that can be renamed as percents pretty easily. Knowing such equivalencies often make percent problems easier to solve. Now you can picture what 1/2 looks like in your heads, boys and girls. You can probably picture what 1/4 looks like. You can probably picture 1/5, and you can probably picture 1/10. Remember, the bottom number, the denominator, is how many parts you have all together. And the top number is how many you get to eat, or how many you get to keep, or whatever it may be. Or what you got right on a spelling test, or what you got right on an AR test. Same thing for 1/4. 4 parts all together, you get to keep, you get to eat, or you got 1 right on a spelling test. 1/5. This one right here, we use this in AR a lot. If you got 1 problem out of 5 on your AR test, you got 1 problem right. That means you got 20%. All right, so back to Alfred, Nadine, and Kyla. We've already done this problem. We worked through it, so he missed 10 problems. 10 problems here and 10 problems there. So we've already done this page, so you don't need to be looking for that. That's just the follow-up. All right, number 2. We're going to keep going. I'm going to do these with you. We have not done these together yet. Nadine missed 1/4 of the problems. Oh boy, when I see 1/4, I always think of quarters. 1/4, 0.25. She missed 0.25 or 0 and 25 hundredths of the problem. That is 25% of the problems. How many problems did she miss? So let's look. So if we divided this into 4 parts, which they've already done, right here, 1/4 is 25 parts, or 25%. How many problems did she miss? Well, I know that if I do this, 1/4 of 20, I know I divide first. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Circle it, because you know you have to multiply that times 1 on the top. So again, divided that those problems into 4 parts. Got one of those parts wrong, or she missed those problems, so she missed 5 problems. 1/4 of 20 is 5 problems. 25% of 20 is 5 problems. Next one, number 3. Kyla missed 1/10 of the problems. She missed 0 and 10/100 of the problems. That is 10% of the problems. How many problems did she miss? Let's set this up like we know how to do. 1/10 of 20. 20 divided by 10 is 2. And 2 times 1 is 2. So she missed 2 problems there. She missed 2 problems there, and she missed 2 problems there. Last one on that page. Let me adjust my screen so you can see it. Sorry about that. Jackson missed 1/5 of the problems. He missed 0.020 or 20/100 of the problems. That is 20% of the problems. So think about an AR test. If you've ever gotten, oopsie, you got 1 out of 5 on an AR test, you know that you got 20% and you didn't pass. So they have shaded this. Here's how they shaded it. They divided this grid into 5 parts. You kind of got to use your imagination. Here's one part right here. I'm going to do these color-coded so that you can see them a little bit easier. So here's 1 part, 2 parts is the green, 3 parts inside the red, 4 parts inside the green again, and 5 parts inside the red. So 1/5 of 20, let's set that up. 1/5 of 20. 20 divided by 5 is 4, and 4 times 1 is 4. So he missed 4 of the problems. 4 of the problems, 4 of the problems. Awesome job. All right, so we're going to fill in the missing numbers. I'm on page 253. Sorry, we're going to fix that a little bit right there. Okay. Fill in the missing numbers. Problem 1 has been done for you. So this is the large square. That's the 100%. That's my whole or my unit. Ways of showing 3/4. 3/4 is shaded. 1, 2, 3. They divided the grid into 4 parts, equal parts, and 3 of those are shaded. 1, 2, 3. If you wanted to do it into hundredths, remember these are equivalent fractions, and I'll show you in just a minute why they're equivalent. We have 100 parts on here. We've shaded 75 of those parts. Like I said, if you can get that denominator to say 100, you're in business, because that will be your decimal, 0 and 75/100, and that will also be your percent. Okay, next one, number 2. We're going to show how many parts out of 5 are shaded. So use your imagination again. Here's 1 part inside the blue, 1 part inside the white, 1 part inside the white again, 1 part inside the blue, and 1 part inside the white again. So maybe if we make a little line right here, that will show you. Oh, there's my ghostwriter. So how many parts do we have shaded? I see 2 parts, 1, 2. So we have 2/5 shaded. Out of 100, here's my big square right here. All of those little cubes add up to 100. How many parts of those are shaded? Well, each row, or column I should say, is worth 10. So we have 10, 20, 30, 40. 40/100. Oh my gosh, we have 100 on the bottom, boys and girls. That means that's going to be your percent and your decimal. And I'm guessing some of you may have gotten a 2 out of 5 on an AR test once upon a time. Again, you didn't pass, and maybe that was in kindergarten or 1st grade when we didn't really know what we were doing very well. So. Number 3, ways of showing this again. So we have how many parts are shaded. Again, let's use our imagination. So we have 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts, 5 parts. So I see that 3 parts are shaded. This whole part, this whole part, and this whole part. So that means I have 3 parts shaded, 3 out of 5. Okay, if I want to convert that to hundredths, which is pretty easy, because I know that this whole entire grid is worth 100. I know each of one of these columns is worth 10. So I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I have 60 out of 100. Ooh, we know that if we have 100 on the bottom, that's our percent and our decimal. So super easy. 0 and 60 hundredths, 60%. And we are showing 3/5. All right. Now it looks like to me they have probably divided these into fifths again. Look at, here's our fifths. So how many parts are shaded? I see 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to show you how to do 4/5. 4/5 on an AR test. I bet you can think of what that is. If you missed one problem, think about the percent that you would have gotten on 4/5. Okay, let's convert that to hundredths. These are equivalent fractions. Forgot to show you that last time. 4/5 is exactly whatever hundredths this is. So let's find out what the hundredths, how many hundredths are shaded. Here's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Remember, boys and girls, I'm using this as my column. This is worth 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Okay, being this is 100, we have 0.80 and 80%. Okay, last one. How many parts out of 5 are shaded? Oh, look at boys and girls. All of this is shaded. So they want to show us that 5 out of 5 parts are shaded. 5 out of 5 parts are shaded. That means 100 out of 100 are shaded. And if we get 100 out of 100 on a test, we know that we got 100%. Our decimal, we actually got a 1. That means this whole thing is shaded, so that means you own the whole thing. It was worth 1. Think of this as a pizza. You can cut it up into 5 parts. You own all 5 parts, so you get to eat all 5 parts. Think of it as a pizza again. You cut it into 100 parts. You ate all 100 parts. So 100%. Oh, I was going to show you how to notice that some of these are going to be equivalent fractions. Watch this. This is going to be a home alone moment, by the way. I'm going to use this example right down here because it's best in the screen that I'm looking at. So can I get this 5 to say 100? Well, of course you said I can do that. I'm going to take that times 20, which equals 100. And if I do that to the denominator, you know what the numerator says. Do that to me too, please. 4 times 20 is 80. 5 times 20 is 100. Same thing for this. 5 times 20 is 100, and if I do that to the denominator, I need to do that to the numerator. 3 times 20 is 60. As you can see, they are equivalent fractions. Give me a second here. Being kind of crabby. All right, shade the grid, then fill in the missing numbers. First of all, you're going to show me 3/10. So we know that 3/10, we're going to divide this baby up into 10 parts. I'm going to shade in 3s, so fill in 3 columns. And they don't have to be right next to each other. You can spread them apart. It doesn't matter to me. How many parts out of 100 are shaded? Well, I have 10, 20, 30 parts out of 100 are shaded. Oh, look at this. I automatically know that that's going to be my decimal and my percent because my denominator is 100. So my decimal is 0.30. I would say that is 0 and 30 hundredths, which totally makes sense, and 30% here. Number 7, showing 7/10. I'm going to shade in 7 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many parts of 100 are shaded? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. 70 hundredths are shaded. Oh, look at this. We have 100 as the denominator. We know that what that means. It means that's going to be your decimal, 0.70, or 0 and 70 hundredths, and 70%. Last one, number 8. 9/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Gotta love that. Isn't that fun? So we have 90 hundredths. There's my hundredths again. 0.90 and 90%. Awesome job, you did it. I'm so proud of you. Just so you know, I hate it that you're not here. I really do. Okay, we are going to stop right there, so you may pause just for a second, go get a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever you need to do, and then we'll come back in just a second. Okay, we are back. Let me adjust that a tiny bit here. I'm on page 254. The first part of math boxes, you're going to complete the table with equivalent names. Now look for the ones that you know. I'm guessing you might know if you got 1 out of 5 in an AR test, what percentage you get. I bet you can also change that to 100 on the bottom by multiplying it times 20. Okay, if you got a 80% on your AR test, what percent is that? What fraction is that? Same thing for 3/10. Sometimes there's AR tests that are worth 10 problems. If you got 3 of them wrong, what would that be? If you're not sure, you can always try to change that bottom number, that denominator, into 100. So I'm going to multiply this times 10. And if I do that to the bottom, I have to do that to the top. Okay? And then 90%. See if you can figure out how to do that. Number 2, up at the top, about 4 2/100 of the words on the internet are the word the. So we use the a lot. And about 1 68/100 of the words are and. So we have the and that we use a lot. About what percent of all the words on the internet are either the word the or and? Choose the best answer. What do you think we're going to do here? Look at what they're asking. About what percent of all words? So we want to know what all words, the and. We're probably going to add those. Make sure you line up your decimals. Number 3. We are going to skip number 3 for right now. Cross that one out. Number 4, Zena earned $12. She spent $8. So how many dollars did she spend, or did she have altogether? She had 12, but she spent 8. So we're going to put those two numbers into a fraction. What fraction of her earnings did she spend? She spent 8/12, or if you know how to simplify, 2/3. Same thing. Those are equivalent. See if you can figure out what fraction she had left, and about what the amount that she spent is how many times as much as the amount she saved. Number 5, area and perimeter. Area equals base times height. Area equals base times height. Perimeter is the police. They're going to surround. So think about what the perimeter would be and the area. Base times height, perimeters, add them all up. And what temperature is it? Oh my gosh, that is freezing. I don't want that temperature right now. Okay. Thank you for watching my video on lesson 9.2. We will continue tomorrow with decimals, percent, and fractions.